Welcome to this video, where we are going to talk about one of the biggest historical events of the modern era, the First World War. This war was the bloodiest period that humanity witnessed from 1914 to 1918, which resulted in the deaths of millions of people and caused radical changes in politics, economics, and societies around the world. In this video, we will talk about the causes of the First World War, trace the course of the main events that took place in the war, and discuss the consequences that the war had on the entire world. Let's start. World War I, also known as the Great War, was a global conflict that lasted from 1914 to 1918. It involved many of the world's major powers and resulted in the deaths of millions of people. The war had a profound impact on the world, reshaping political, economic, and social structures, and setting the stage for many of the conflicts and issues that continue to shape global affairs today. In this essay, we will explore the causes, events, and consequences of World War I in detail. Causes of World War I. The causes of World War I are complex and multifaceted, but historians generally agree that a combination of factors contributed to the outbreak of the conflict. One of the primary causes was the system of alliances that had developed in Europe prior to the war. Many countries had formed alliances with one another, committing to defend one another in the event of an attack. This created a complex web of obligations and rivalries that made it difficult to contain conflicts between individual countries. Another major cause of World War I was the growing sense of nationalism and imperialism that characterized the period leading up to the war. Many nations were competing for territory, resources, and influence, and this led to tensions between countries as they jostled for position. In addition, the growing militarization of European societies and the arms race that ensued also contributed to the outbreak of war, as countries sought to build up their military strength and deter potential adversaries. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in 1914 is often cited as the immediate trigger for the war. The assassination, which was carried out by a Serbian nationalist, sparked a chain reaction of events that quickly escalated into a major conflict. Events of World War I. The events of World War I were shaped by a series of major battles, technological innovations, and political and economic developments. One of the defining characteristics of the war was the stalemate that developed on the Western Front, where both sides dug in and engaged in a protracted trench warfare that lasted for years. The first major battle of the war was the Battle of the Marne, fought in September 1914. This battle marked the end of the German advance into France and set the stage for the trench warfare that would characterize much of the rest of the war. Another significant event of World War I was the use of new technologies and weapons such as machine guns, poison gas, and tanks. These innovations made the war more deadly and brutal and contributed to the high casualty rates on both sides. The war also saw major political and economic developments, such as the entry of the United States into the conflict in 1917 and the collapse of several major empires, including the Ottoman Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Consequences of World War I. The consequences of World War I were far-reaching and profound, shaping the course of the 20th century and beyond. One of the most immediate consequences of the war was the staggering loss of life. An estimated 8.5 million soldiers and 13 million civilians died as a result of the conflict. The war also left millions of people injured or disabled, and it had a profound impact on families and communities throughout the world. The war also had major political consequences, leading to the collapse of several major empires and the emergence of new nation-states. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed harsh reparations on Germany and set the stage for the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party in the 1930s. The war also had a significant impact on the global economy, leading to widespread inflation and economic instability. It also contributed to the rise of socialist and communist movements throughout Europe, as people sought solutions to the economic and political problems that had led to the war. Conclusion: World War I was a defining moment in world history, shaping the course of the 20th century and beyond. The causes, events, and consequences of the war were complex and multifaceted, reflecting the political, social, and economic tensions of the period. While the war had a profound impact on the world, it also served as a catalyst for many of the social and political changes that would shape the modern era.